Now we wait. We're going to give it a little bit of time to allow people to come in. Kia ora, Wendy. Nice to see you, Wendy woman. Welcome. As you come in, just give us a hello and so we can see who we've got. And this is going to be a very intense. Hello, Tan. I'll be emailing you the report today. We've been getting organized, as it were, as we've just returned home on Friday. Good morning, Dee. Nice to see you. Thank you, Wendy. It's good to be seen again. It's been an interesting time. Hello, Debbie. And Graham, if Graham's in the background there. It's been a very interesting experience recently, and I also need to give an explanation about something. Hello, Samantha. Before Alsharon comes in, and he's going to be, hello, Robert. He's going to be providing us with some information that I feel is very, very important and very timely as well. Kia ora, Karine. Hello, Kath. Now I'm going to be sharing, as you all know, any of you who have seen my lives knows that I have never shied away from sharing personal stories and personal happenings to me. And today will be no different. Because I need to share with you what's been going on, because as many of you know, I've kind of fallen off the edge of the world. Hello, Margot. Doing well, doing very well now. And so I want to let you all know what's been going on, what's been happening. Hello, Tina. Nice to see you. Hello, Chris. Morena. So we're going to go ahead and get started. People can come in as they do, and I'm going to get started because it's going to be probably a fair whack today. As most of you know, on March 1st of last year, I had a stroke. And about 4 hours after I had been admitted to the hospital, I lost the use of my left leg and my left arm. I couldn't even move my toes. I spent just over 9 weeks in hospital relearning how to walk. And not, when I say relearning how to walk, I don't mean like walking as I used to, because my left leg doesn't quite work the way it used to in the moment. So a year ago, September, so last month, was the first time since my stroke that Janice and I went out to dinner. And it was a struggle. But what you don't know is that when I had the stroke, I was literally taken offline. And when I say I was taken offline, I was only about 5 to 7% present. The rest of me was not present at all. Now, the other thing that most of you do not know is that on the other side, those beings that I work with, that are my family on the other side, beings like Marisa, McCowan, Miloth, Sananda, Fendrick, None of them, even Danae, none of them knew I was going to have a stroke because they were not informed. So when I had a stroke, it was just as much of a surprise to them as it was to me. Now, it wasn't until about 6 months later after my stroke that I found out that Mine Shalem, who is a member of the High Council of Source, had come to me before my incarnation and had requested that I go through this process for particular reasons, and that I had agreed to it, and yet that had been removed from my awareness, from my knowledge. Now, on the 28th of February, well, actually, let's go back just a little bit further. 2020 2020 was a very intense year. Now, for most people, they would say that it was so intense because of COVID. But for me, it was intense for other reasons. Um, for those of you that may or may not know, I have a son, a biological son now. Janice and I, we claim all our kids. So she's got a son and daughter, which I claim as mine, but they're my stepkids. And then my son, who lives in Washington State, near Seattle. Now, I'm not going to go into the whole story, but I will say that from reasons beyond my control, I had never gotten to see my son, speak to him, even see a picture of him throughout his entire life. I tried to find him, but I was unsuccessful in finding him. And then, to my amazement, on the 15th of August 2020, he messaged me. It was the first time we spoke, and we have been speaking ever since. He wanted to come down to Australia to see me and everything, but of course he couldn't because Australia was closed down, New Zealand was closed down, so on and so forth. Now, 5 days later, on the 20th of August, our son in New Zealand had his first daughter, his first child, our granddaughter, Pandora. But we couldn't go down there to see her or to be with them or anything else because all the borders were closed. And then in October of 2020, I started channeling less because I've always channeled a lot for Janice ever since we first met back in the late 90s. But it really slowed down a lot after starting in October of 2020. And then on the 28th of February 2021, two main things came out. Janice and I were in the swimming pool where we lived, and I made the comment to her. I said, because normally I've got things going on in my head where I'm trying to discern information, figure certain things out, stuff like that. And I said, for the first time that I can ever recall, my mind is blank. It is completely blank. There's nothing going on there. And then a little bit later on, we were back inside of our apartment, and I made the comment to her how good I felt. I said, I feel better than I have felt in years. I feel so good. And then, of course, at 6:05 the next morning, I had the stroke. I was taken completely offline. So I withdrew. I wasn't able to just channel the way I wanted to channel or how I had been channeling for the entirety of the over 30 years of channeling. And it was very difficult in so many different ways. Hello, Donna. It's like I had lost myself. I had lost who I was. Now, a year ago, my wife and I really believed wholeheartedly that I would never be able to travel again. And this one of the things that we enjoy doing. It's one of the things that we do. But we really thought we would never travel again. And then the borders started opening up this year, of course. And in June, Janice and I flew to New Zealand and saw our son and met our granddaughter finally in person. We had seen her on FaceTime and pictures and stuff. And it was a struggle. It was a real challenge in so many ways. But I was determined to go to Seattle and see my son. I've never seen him in person. I've never gotten to hold him, give him a hug, anything. We didn't know how I would go on a long flight. So we did premium economy on Singapore Airlines going from Cairns to Singapore and then Singapore to Seattle. And that leg of it was 14 and a half hours. And I handled it okay. Now, we decided to do an Alaskan cruise because we felt that that would probably be fine for me. I have a friend that I went to high school with who lives in Juneau that I could hook up with, and Janice can meet her, and we could hook up, and things like that. And so I used a wheelchair to board this ship, and we did the cruise. Everything went fine. I was very excited on the first day. I was so excited that I ran Janice ragged. I ended up doing over 7,000 steps that day, walking all over the ship. And it was the most steps I had done since my stroke in one day. I got to see my son, spend time with him. He's got a new baby girl, Aubrey, who was born on the 5th of August. And so we have two granddaughters. Everything went well. Meeting him went well. Everything is really good. So, like when we were planning this, we were looking at the flight back to Australia from Seattle. And we were looking to go on the 5th of September. Now, this is about following your heart and guidance and noticing and recognizing when you are getting guidance from spirit. So listen very carefully to this next part. So we're looking at flights, and I remembered when I first came over to Cairns, I had to fly from Seattle to LA to Sydney, Sydney to Cairns. And we were thinking that that might be a little bit much. Well, Janice comes walking into the office as I'm looking at flights, and she had something come up on her Facebook feed, and she said there's a cruise on Carnival Splendor going from Seattle to Sydney, but I don't know when it is. So we brought it up. Lo and behold, it was leaving Seattle on Tuesday, the 6th of September, the day after we were planning on leaving anyway. And we kind of thought it would be cheaper, or it would be easier for me than doing the 4 major flights. So we looked into the pricing and discovered that we could cruise from Seattle to Sydney for the same price it would cost us to fly home. Anyway, hello, Teresa. So we booked an ocean view room. Nothing flash, just a very ocean view room. Has a window. Have a nice day. So the time comes, and I'm printing out the luggage tags and stuff like that. And I print out the luggage tags, and it says our room is 1064. And I'm like, this doesn't sound right. What's going on? So I bring up the deck plans and I bring up the room number, and it's a balcony room. We got a free upgrade unbeknownst to us. Spirit was looking after us. So now we just arrived back into Sydney this last Friday morning. Okay. This trip went from September 6th until the 30th of September. And we went for the first week, so 7 days to Hawaii, and then had 4 stops around Hawaii. And then we started our journey towards Fiji. Now, some of you may have seen the picture on the page of me in Fiji as Chief James. I was made chief, but that was a massive thing because for them, we were the first cruise ship that had come there, and we were the first people from a cruise ship to come to this village in 3 years. So it was a massive time for them. We crossed the equator, we crossed the international date line, and you see, we didn't realize this, but this was a massive deal for Australia because this was the first cruise ship to come from an international port to Australia in 3 years. This signals the opening of cruising for Australia again. So it was a massive deal. But something else happened. We got to the port in Seattle to board the Carnival Splendor for our trip back to Sydney. And I had made arrangements for wheelchair assistance to get on the ship and then at the end to come off the ship. So we get to the port and we check in our bags, and then we go and we stand over in the area for the wheelchair assistance. And one lady's like, well, I've been here almost 2.5 hours. And there's like 15 people sitting waiting for wheelchairs. And Janice and I are standing there and we're talking, and finally I say, I'm not going to stand here for 2 hours waiting for a wheelchair. So I told the lady, and she said, go ahead, go into this line here. And it was the ADA line, so the line for people who need assistance. And I walked in, and we did our initial check-in where you have to show your vaccination, your COVID test, and all passports. And then we went through and went up the elevators, went through security, did the main check-in, and then went over for the wheelchair to get on board. And then she said, well, have a seat because it's going to be at least 30 minutes. And I said, well, I'm not going to wait 30 minutes. So I ended up walking onto the Carnival Splendor. And of course, for 23 nights, 24 days, I walked on average over 5,000 steps every day on the ship, in Maui, in Fiji, all over the place, and it was fine. So, 2 weeks into our cruise coming to Sydney, I get a visitation. The visitor is Alsharon. Alsharon, Gideon, and Milo had been back in what we term the Great Central Sun, working on something. He hasn't really gone into what they were working on, but they were working on something. And they have completed that, and they have come back. So Miloth is now looking after Janice and I, and Gideon and Alsharon are ready to get back to work. And then all of a sudden, something changed within me. I was no longer offline. I was doing things that I had not done since my stroke. And to give you an example, we had connected as you do on such a long cruise, with many of the staff, many of the crew. And one of the crew that we had connected with was a lady named Joyce, who was a hostess in the restaurant. So for dinner, we had an assigned table, and we could just go into the table, have a nice day, have dinner. But for breakfast, you'd have to do a check-in on your phone, and then once the table was ready, it would beep. So, but we had checked in for, and this was last Thursday morning. And so we go to the restaurant, but the wait is like 40 to 50 minutes. But we walk down there anyway, and we see Joyce, and she brings up our room and sees where we are on the list. And then she goes away for a couple of moments and says, "Look, I've got a seat for you." And she takes us to a table. Now, this wasn't the only time this happened on this cruise. We're on the Australian cruise or Alaskan cruise, but this was indicative of what was happening to me now. So we sit down on a table just for two, and one of our wait staff, Ricardo, I made the comment to him. I said, when you die, you can't take money with you. You can't take possessions with you. But all of the experiences you have and all the interactions you have are imprinted on your soul, and you take that with you. Well, a woman sitting in a seat just down the way a little bit from us overheard me say this. She got up and she came over to our table, and she was in tears. She ended up giving me 3 hugs and giving Janice a couple of hugs. And she said, "Thank you. You're the first person to be able to clearly state what I have known, but have never had the words for." She recognized my energy, and it just opened everything back up. And so I have gone through an energetic change over the course of the last 18 months, or however long it's been since March 1st of last year. I have been completely upgraded on energetically. I'm glad you're enjoying that, Teresa. And Alsharon came and gave me some different topics and said 1 to 2 times a month, we're back doing the public channelings. Now we are still running our Armaeus Temple, and it's for those people who are really guided to doing that. We do Q&A sessions and live channelings, about 6 sessions a month. And our first session for October is going to be on this next Tuesday. So if you feel the call, you can email me on bluestarspiritualgroup@gmail.com or jamesarmaeus@gmail.com, and let me know that you want to participate. Those sessions are done via Zoom, and they are recorded, and you are sent the recordings as well. I am now doing healings, personal channeling sessions, coaching sessions, mentoring sessions. If you are interested in any of those things, send me an email. For those people who have a session in the month of October, one person will be chosen to receive a personal channeling session. So as a return gift, as it were. Kia ora, Melody. So we are going to be running that for the month of October. So anyone who gets a session in the month of October, they will get be in the running to receive a free personal channeling session. Now we will be having specials coming up. For December for Christmas, but we will go over that at that time. Now, the first topic, today's topic that Alsharon is going to be talking about is called the narrow path. Greetings, Kenneth. I have been offline and it's been quite a story. Hello, Joanne. Nice to see you. So if you want a session, send me a DM, a message. You can't really send me a DM on Facebook because I've been banned off on Facebook. They won't let me back on. I just tried again yesterday. I'm doing this through my wife's Facebook account, but you can send me an email or go to our website, which is bluestarspiritual.com. Send me an email, and we will go from there. So I will go ahead and let Alsharon in, and he can. And now I do not control whether he takes questions or not, or what he answers or not. So thank you, Margot. It's good to see you, Kathy. So we will be doing these live channelings with Alsharon or with Gideon, 1 to 2 a month from this point moving forward. Greetings and blessings to each and every one of you. I am Alsharon of the Great Central Sun. I am very happy to be back again. We have been away for some time, as our responsibilities are not just to this world and to each one of you, but our responsibilities to this entire universe and multiverse. And so, just like for all of you who have to follow your guidance, we too must follow what we need to do as well. So, today's topic is called the narrow path. Now, in your earthly traditions, there are a couple of close examples to this. Within the framework of the religion known as Buddhism, they would say the middle path. In the traditions of what you term the Native American Indians, they say the red road. And it's like 1 foot in the world of physical, 1 foot in the world of spirit. The narrow path is a little bit different, though. Now, for some time, I was coming in and I would talk extensively on trust and faith in yourself, for yourself, following your heart and guidance, trusting your intuition, to the point that some people became bored with that conversation. However, there is a purpose to everything. And what you need to understand about spirit is not everything is explained and not everything is clear. In many ways, spirit works in a very subtle way. Spirit works in a way that forces you to utilize your own personal abilities and being able to make your own determinations. There is a universal law around, say, third dimensional and fourth dimensional extraterrestrials from interfering with this world. As such, we also have to abide by non-interference as well. So with that in mind, we can't just come in and explain something crystal clear to you. We open doorways for you so that you can find your own way. The narrow path is about walking the path of spirit. You see, everyone who will listen to this message is a starseed. As a starseed, your soul has already gone through the evolutionary and ascension process on whatever world you have come from. Because you have to remember, in order to be a starseed on this planet, you have to come from either the fifth or sixth dimension. So, you are, and it's been said many times before, you are a spiritual being having a physical experience. That is your incarnation, living physically on this planet. Now, as such, for the majority of you, you have forgotten who you truly are, where you truly come from. You have forgotten many of your true abilities. And you don't have, and even if you know of different abilities you have, you may not have access to them. This one knows many abilities that he possesses, but that he does not have access to here. Think about it for a moment. About 2,000 Earth years ago, you had Yeshua ben Joseph. Now, he had access to certain abilities, such as healing, as well as not just physical healing, but soul healing and transforming lives and things like this. People on this planet have very large difficulties in handling such things, and he ended up being crucified over it. The reason is because people weren't ready to fully experience that. If you came here and incarnated on this planet and had access to all of your memories of who you truly are, where you come from, of all of your abilities, and had access to all of your abilities, you wouldn't be able to remain here anyway, because you would not be compatible with the vibrational frequency of this planet. But also the people of this world would not be able to handle these abilities being demonstrated to them over and over again. So you have to remember that this is a journey. It's not a one stop, everything's done, have a nice day, going home now. This is a journey that goes for a long time. You are chosen to be here because of who you are. You are chosen to incarnate in this time, in this place, because of who you are. You are here listening to this message now because you have been guided to do so, because it is speaking directly to your soul And it's because it's what your family wants to assist you on your path. So you see, in order to walk the narrow path, it is about trusting who you are, having that trust and faith in yourself, but even more importantly, having that trust and faith in spirit. It is like being a channeler. When you are opening yourself to allow some other being to speak through you, you do so by creating a relationship with those higher beings because they are having to bring down their vibrational frequency and you're having to raise your vibrational frequency to find a match that allows them to speak through you. And it's about building that trust and faith between you both. But this trust and faith is about having that trust and faith in yourself. Many of you walk this path on this planet with tremendous doubt. You doubt yourself, you doubt your abilities, you doubt your relationships. Instead of focusing more fully on trusting in your heart and guidance and your own discernment, you would rather doubt. You would rather question. Now, sometimes that's very healthy to do. You should never just blindly accept things as being absolute truth. You should always discern, what does it feel like? Does it resonate? Does it really open your heart? Does it really connect you in that way? Walking the narrow path means walking your truth. It does not mean imposing your truth on others, but being true to who you are and living your truth. It's very important to remember that as star seeds on this planet at this time, you are, in essence, living examples. Now, who are you a living example for? You are a living example to other star seeds, and you are a living example to the native human population. You see, the native human population, they are in their evolutionary process. So I will give you some examples. He discovered this about a week ago. Actually, just last week he discovered this. They are on their slow boat from Seattle to Sydney, and then they realized something. When they booked this way home, they were unaware of the significance of the trip as far as opening cruising up for Australia, the first international cruise ship with international passengers arriving in Australia in almost 3 years. They didn't realize this. But what they realized was they were putting their energy in the ocean from Seattle all the way across from north to south, as well as from east to west across the Pacific Ocean. Their energy was going to move through the ocean into every ocean and sea around the world. They were meant to do this. They did not know this when they booked the trip. They booked the trip because on the surface, they felt it would be easier with the physical challenges that he currently has do it in that manner. And they were made sure, and we made sure that they were looked after in every way. We gave them signs to show them that they were not alone and that they were protected and being looked after. So we gave them certain signs that could not be denied, that could not be altered, that could not be explained away. He has not shared this story with you, and it won't be shared here. However, please know that he felt that as you awaken and as you walk your path, the big gestures from spirit tend to go away because you don't need them anymore. Because it's not about awakening. But when it's required, really important, something very, very important, they still will happen on a rare occasion. And for him, he had two of those occasions. Well, both he and Janice had two occasions of this on their trip. The other thing you have to remember is to walk the narrow path means to have something, to work on something that can be a challenge for some of you, and that is patience. Today, right now, he has a tremendous clarity on everything that's occurred from March 1st of last year when he had his stroke to now. He sees how everything lines up, how everything has occurred the way it's meant to occur, everything. And yet at the same time, when he was in the midst of going through everything, when he was in hospital, when he was just out of hospital, when he was struggling, when he had to use a wheelchair all the time, he couldn't see the outcome. He couldn't see what the plan was. He couldn't see how everything would connect. So he had to have trust and faith that everything would proceed the way it needed to. It always comes down to those two things, trust and faith. You see, the universe has its own way of doing things. So all of us, including myself, has to have trust and faith that anything that the universe throws out, there is a plan for it. It is part of a higher purpose. This is not for the faint of heart. This is not a situation that is easy for anyone. There are things that occur in your life. There are things that happen in your life that we will sit back and cry over. We will shed a tear. We will feel deeply for what you are experiencing and what you are going through. However, it is important to remember that there is much more happening than meets the eye, number one. And number two, nothing is happening to you that was not agreed upon. Before he incarnated, before he came into this incarnation, he was spoken to about going through the stroke, what the reasons were for it, what the purpose of it was. Now, he knows all of this now, but he did not know it before. Because it's not about people knowing. It's the same thing. Think of it this way. We will never tell you when you're going to cross over. you'll never know the date and time of your passing, because if you did, it would interfere with your experience, and it would interfere with where you are and what your experience is. Now, I'm happy to take questions, but please refrain from asking, what does Spirit have for me, and things of this nature. This is part of your process of awakening, to allow that and to realize that Spirit will give you the information you require when you require it. I will need to put the glasses on. Now remember, this is for all. So, Wendy, is there anything more you need to do to recover from the attack you had recently from a parent at the school where you work? It shook your foundation, so to speak. Yes, there is one more thing you should do, and you do not need to do this face to face or anything like that. Forgive them. They do not have the information you have, and they reacted from a place of fear, and they reacted from a place of unknowingness. It truly was not personal, so you need to forgive them. And you also need to remember that you gave the space required for them to express this. It was not hard, it was not easy, as it were. Samantha, is the perspective of you in life the way you were talking about, the way you see it, like quantum? Yes, because the thing is that generally speaking, when an individual makes a choice, when an individual responds to someone else, they do so from the best, from where they can in that moment. I will share a story with you that he will probably not appreciate, but I will do it anyway. When this one was in Washington, um, his son was taking Janice and him to a different hotel where they were staying for their last night in Bremerton. And they stopped at a store so Janice could go in and get a couple of things. And this one and Josh was speaking, and this one said that him not being in Joshua's life was not his mother's fault, but it was his fault because he was so filled with self loathing and self hatred and fear that when things broke apart the way they did between him and Josh's mother, this one ran away and then realized he shouldn't have done that, but it was too late for him to do anything about it. So the bottom line is that we have to be able to see these different things. Now, what he did, although for him, he feels like um, he should have made a different choice, but that's from his perspective today. In that moment, in 1992, 1993 rather, he made the best choice he could make in that moment with what he had. And this is why it's so important not to judge self and to realize that evolution continues to happen no matter what. Because how is star seeds evolving? Are star seeds evolving? Okay, that's the question. Are star seeds evolving on this planet? And the answer is yes. Not in the same sense that native humans are evolving. They are evolving in the way of being human. Because you see, you are here until it is time to leave. So remember that. James Davis, any guidance for my best and highest good moving forward on the path? Trust yourself. Trust your intuition. You doubt a little too much, and you have everything that you require for the path that you are walking. Okay, let's see here. Kathy. Will your fatigue from COVID pass soon? One thing you need to relax a little bit more and stop pushing so much. However, I would recommend that you start taking zinc. That will assist. I do feel that it will take some time for it to truly pass, though. Teresa, Ismail, Prez. Um, this one is not aware of him. He is simply part of the Galactic Federation. I don't really know what else you want to know about that. Joanne, can I speak about what is happening catastrophic wise on our planet? There is a clearing and a cleansing going on. There is a real focus at the moment. There is a battle between light and dark. This battle was known it was going to happen. It is about the native human population not only choosing their path moving forward, but how that's going to look. And there are those who are working feverishly to try and prevent certain things and trying to infuse or instill their own view on what should be happening. It is a very intense time on this planet, but things like hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions are a natural process on this planet, but it also provides clearing and cleansing of energies. There's a great deal of dense energy around the planet at the moment. There's a great deal of fear energy around the planet, and this is having to be transformed a little bit and shifted a little bit. And it's really important to remember that, these things must happen in order to move forward in many ways. But it's about allowing and trusting Spirit to know what needs to be done and when and how. Donna, you do not need to worry about solar flares. It is simply releasing energy from the sun that actually assists the different planets in the solar system. Teresa, yes, there are places in Florida that have severe damage, but they will rebuild. It will move forward. Things like this have to occur to enable change and shifting. Samantha, correct. Fear is false evidence appearing real. Kathy, some of it is man-made, but much of it is from nature itself. Because the planet is working very diligently and hard with spirit to provide what is required and necessary for this world, to clear the energy, to allow individuals like yourselves, like Native humans, to make choices that will benefit them much more fully moving forward. It was sent to, this is to Melody. It was sent to you. I will simply tell you this. You need to step back from that and clear your energy, ground yourself, and make sure that you have an energetic field around you to provide you with protection. Now, if you need to know some techniques for that, ask this one once the channeling is complete and he can share that with you. They are associated with the person who's doing the readings. Kath, is Gaia still here? Gaia is always here because Gaia is Earth. Gaia is the consciousness of Earth. Gaia will always be here as long as Earth is here. There are many prayers going up, Teresa. There are many, many prayers happening every moment of every day, not only for this world, but for the people of this world, for nations, for this project, all sorts of things. No, Kath. Gaia is the consciousness of this world. Gaia has not left Earth. Why would Gaia leave at the most critical time of this planet's journey? It doesn't make any sense at all. To walk the narrow path means that you trust yourself enough to follow your heart and guidance, even when it doesn't make any sense. If it resonates, then you should follow it. Now, there are those who say they don't trust their discernment because they have given so much of their own power away. And when that happens, you need to step back and reevaluate the choices you are making. Because if you have just continually given your power away, you are going to find yourself facing more and more challenges that you will not be able to control in the future. And I hope you understand this. Now, are there any other questions, or are we complete for now? Now, very soon, I will be coming back here for our next session. And in that session, we will be speaking about what is termed the hidden. Joanne, you need to start looking at the path you are walking. You need to really look at, are you walking the path that is right for you? Think of it. You have issues with your feet and ankles, which represent what? It represents your walking. So you need to look at the path you are walking and really discern if the path you've been walking is correct for you or not. At this time, we will close this session. I give you my love and I give you my support. We are with you more than you realize. Now, because it has been brought up, we will, I will have this one speak to you about protection and about things like that at the completion of this. So much love and many blessings. Kotoroto yamatiate shonyatara kiala protonoete yamotorotomota shinote. Okay. Alsharon has mentioned about doing protection and things like that. So first off is the seekers. Now, seekers are like nanites. and they are a wonderful tool, and they clear your energetic space, your home, hotel, business, whatever, wherever you are. And the way I use it is very simple. With regards to our apartment where I am right now, you start off by saying seekers activate, and then you give the instruction go throughout this apartment and around this building, removing anything and everything that should not be here. Anything that is hidden, reveal, and remove. Activate seekers. So you say at the beginning, at the end on activate seekers, and they are now doing their thing. Now, the other thing you can do, a good energetic protection that you can place around yourself is what I term the mirror panels. So there's 4 mirror panels, one in front, one behind, and one on either side of you. And they are connected at the seam, shall we say. And then you have to give your instruction for it. Any energy that is for my highest and greatest good that will benefit me upon my path is allowed to move through the mirrors. Anything that is not needs to be reflected back to wherever it came from. Another little energetic technique you can use is called the bubble, where you place a bubble around you, and anything that can do you harm or interference will simply bounce back to wherever it came from. Now, you cannot just do this once and it's done. You need to do it whenever you feel the need. Do it every day. Do it twice a day. You know, for a long time, for a long time, for 23 years, before I channeled, before I did a healing, before I did a reading, before I did anything, I set my rules. And after 23 years, they finally came to me and said, you don't have to do this anymore. Because it was literally set in stone because I had done it every single time for 23 years. But it took 23 years for it to become set in stone. So you need to make sure you're doing these things that protect you. Now, our next channeling will be in 2 weeks on the 16th of October with Alsharon, and the topic will be the hidden. Now, if anyone has any questions they'd like to ask me, feel free. Please remember that I am available for personal channeling sessions, coaching. Well, remember, Donna, the number 23, if you look at it numerologically, is a 5, and 5 indicatively is about change. Remember that. So I am available for personal channeling sessions, healings, coaching sessions, mentoring sessions, and things are shifting in many different ways. Let go of all of your expectations. Let go of thinking that you've got all the answers, and allow. The more you allow, the better it is for you. So at this point, we will close this. I want to thank all of you for coming. I hope you've enjoyed this. I will be trying to, if I can remember how, I may have to look it up again. I will be working to take the video and putting it up on our YouTube channel, which is Blue Star Spiritual. Please don't don't mind the background on the YouTube channel because I'm trying to redo it and screwing it up. So I'm working on it, and hopefully we'll get a new background soon. Joanne, please tell Jaden I said hi. Look forward to seeing him again very soon. Now, we will be having our channeling class Wednesday evening, and we do have a channeling class on Monday mornings for those interested in learning how to channel. Again, you can reach me on Blue Star Spiritual Group at gmail.com or at jamesarmais@gmail.com, and Armais is ARMAIS. And please remember also that anyone who has a session for the month of October will go into the draw for a free personal channeling session. So much love and many blessings. Have a wonderful day and the wonderful rest of your weekend. Toshine Kera Tamoteta.